Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back or welcome to another Bangs Audio review. Today is the Letshuoer S08 for ya. We just did the S12 2024, which I was like, obviously very excited about. Before I get too far here, though, yeah, there we go. I just wanted to turn the mic up all the way because this is the Meze boom mic, and I think it was definitely too low last time. That is for certain. But also, like, I'm not used to having a headset actually on my head while I'm recording because it just kind of messes with me. So I just have the headphones down under my chin here, and the microphone pointed up. And I'm hoping that this combination is going to work for everybody. So anyway, we're in microphone experimenting stages. Any companies out there who want me to test mics for them, feel free to send them my way. You can contact me at BaseDad8 on Discord or Reddit. Anyway, oh, why not? So, yeah, the S08, Letshuoer. It's a company that just always manages to stay relevant. Like they're good. Well, first of all, they're just good at producing really good IEMs, and secondly, they're also good at innovating. So I think the main theme here, as I turn down scale the summit a little bit, the main theme of this review is outside of the S08 itself, is going to be comparing the S08 to the S12 2024 primarily, a little bit to the S12 Pro, but more about the 2024, and how does it fit in, and did Letshuoer, with this $100-ish offering, did they hit the mark, or did they just miss the mark, right? Because let's face it, $100 IM these days is it's about the stiffest competition that's going. Maybe you could say up to 150. There's a ton, and there's a lot of 200 now too, obviously. I've done a bunch of those recently, so there isn't like a certain price point that it's not competitive. But I think a lot of people, the cutoff point is right around that $100 mark. Like, they just won't go beyond it, understandably so, because of what's available at that price point and the quality that you get. And sometimes the accessories and the quality, and sometimes it's a little bit more about the accessories, and sometimes it's a lot more about the quality because there are no accessories. Looking at you, CCA and SimGot. But then there's the mix, right? The right mix where the quality is like undeniably good and the accessories are actually also very good. And we just experienced that with the Titan S2, which is a great, single dynamic driver set that is well accessorized, has a nice cable, etc. And I'm happy to report that the S08 from Letshuoer follows right in that vein. So you've got again, no wasteful packaging. Very nice packaging. User manual and warranty card as we jump into the unbox. The tips are very nice. Again, this, I believe, is the same set that you're getting with the S12 2024, maybe minus the foams, right? I don't see any foams there, but you do get small, medium, and large in both dark gray and semi-transparent white. The quality is fantastic on these, really like impressively good, as I remarked on the S12. But same problem with my ears being as they are. I could not find a combination of medium and large that really was comfortable, and that's too bad because the tips are very nice. If you don't have weird ears like I do, and the canals, that is, like somewhere between medium and medium large, and sometimes between medium large, and the right one smaller than the left one, and all of that stuff. If that's not a challenge for you, then you will find these tips, I think, perfectly, if not above average. Perfectly adequate, if not above average. This is the upgrade cable. Is that what it was? Something like that. Basically, your upgraded cable is just your standard S12 cable. So I don't really detect any difference in this and the one that comes stock with the S12, except the S12 cable is modular, and this one, I believe you can pick in either 3.5 or 4.4. So you have options as far as that goes. But the nice thing is that unless you love this cable, which I don't because of the overly aggressively formed ear hooks, don't work very well for my ears. They did not work at all well with the S08, by the way, so that's something worth noting, because I had the same problem with the original S12 cable, and once I switched cables, everything was fabulous. So again, unless you're a fan of the S12 cable sort of style, there's no need to order the upgraded cable. It still might come with it, but it also comes with, as I take forever to get there, sorry, it also comes with a modular stock cable that is not as thick, is kind of bouncy. You know, it's not super soft and supple, but it's kind of bouncy, and it seems to keep it from tangling as easily. I'd like to think that it does. It certainly seemed like it. Yeah, standard, you know, flush 2-pin, and a very secure connection at the connection point. Maybe not perfectly aligned, but close enough. So yeah, it's a nice cable. They're nice tips. The case is the exact same case as what you get with the S12 2024. This puck style that's very like nicely, tightly threaded, spacious, and yeah, it's the same exact case here. I'll show you. Look. There. S12 2024. I like this case. I can get used to it. Very nice. Very nice. So, as you will, you know, sort of get the drift as we go along here, there's going to be a lot of comparing to the S12 2024. Obviously, because it's the same company and I just reviewed it, so it's the freshest I am in my brain, besides the S08, obviously. And I think the question will, you know, the question is, did they hit it out of the park at $100, and does it fall in line sort of correctly with the S12 2024 insofar as quality and price to quality ratio goes, right? Letshuoer they're not dumb. So, you know, the answer is yes. Does it make sense at the price point that it is? Yes. Does it sound excellent for the price that it is? Yes. Does it have a nice amount of accessories and at least a decent modular cable? Yes. So if you took this in a vacuum, or let's say without the S12 2024 or S12 Pro, if you took it just by itself and said, here's $100-ish planar, is it worth its salt? Does it hold up for the price point? And the answer is 100% yes. So, you know, it's another really, this is why Letshuoer stays relevant. It's because they they do things right the first time, you know? I mean, I guess there are exceptions, right? The DZ set, I think people were not super happy about, but people certainly love the Cadenza 4, the EJ107M, the Cadenza 12, the original S12. Like, you know? I mean, it's not just that they stay relevant, they stay good and relevant. They stay, like, you know, they have a couple of legendary sets, and like the Cadenza 12 and the S12 original, you know, those are benchmark sets. People compare a lot of other things too. I think the EJ107M for its time was also considered a benchmark set. Still something I would consider owning, actually. Just a little bit out of my price range, really. So, Unbox is good. Accessories good. On your specs, you have 105 decibel sensitivity, which is 3 more than the S12 2024. Resistance on this is a bit higher at 26 ohms versus 16 on the 2024. Frequency range that they list is the same, 20 hertz to 40 kilohertz. And, you know, it's CNC aluminum shell, flush 2-pin, and then your modular cable. So specs and unbox for you. On the build and the fit. These are, you know, there are going to be some nitpicks here. And again, this is your mileage may vary situation. So for me, it's funny because I was thinking about the Stellaris and how much better the S08 is than the Stellaris, but the Stellaris is like 3 or 4 years old now. $100 planar though that Moondrop attempted, and you know, kind of a swing and a miss, but at least they tried. The shell size and shape is fairly similar. I actually think the Stellaris might be a little bit bigger, but it reminds me of the Stellaris in sort of its general shape. And like the Stellaris, this is smaller, so I didn't have as much of a fit issue as I did with the Stellaris, which kind of like stuck out, looked like, you know, corks sticking out of your ears kind of thing. This doesn't do it that bad, but it did not feel as comfortable as the S12 2024 or the S12 Pro for that matter. Just in the sense that it's a little bit larger, chunkier shell, and so it did make contact with my inner outer ear at a couple of points, and I didn't have to take them out kind of uncomfortable. It wasn't like the East 6 kind of uncomfortable or like hugely gigantic Nova kind of shell uncomfortable. It's not that bad. So like I said, it's a nitpick. But for me, I did notice them. I could tell that they were there. They didn't just like go into your ear and disappear, more or less. You know, so they were... I'm not even going to call them uncomfortable. Just a little bit, tiny bit uncomfortable after a while, you know. It probably ended up with about 15 to 20 hours on them when it was all said and... No, 12 to 15 hours on them when it's all said and done. And yeah, it was something that I just noted. It wasn't egregious. But the build quality is really, really good. The finishes are smooth, you know, and it's a matte finish, and there really aren't any hard corners, you know, outside of the very, you know, edge of the faceplate. And they're not corners, just an edge. But if I put them in, yeah, I mean, I can feel them a little bit. It's okay. I had them out at my son's soccer game this afternoon for a little sound isolation, noise cancellation, passive noise cancellation kind of test, and with the Divinus Velvets on them, they were pretty much dead silent. Couldn't hear anything. Nice, nice, nice. Don't worry, I didn't wear them the whole time. I was still, like, most of the parents out there, and I know we all do it, but, you know, most people are just on their phones now, and they kind of just let their kids run around for an hour and then, you know, check in with them for a water break kind of thing. Even though I had my headset in, I was watching. I was watching. And there were some parents that do, some don't. It's, you know, it's very prevalent in our society, and I'm not going to pass judgment on it. But we do spend a whole, myself included, whole lot of time looking at our phones, looking at our screens, for sure. So, sonically speaking, the Letshuoer S08 on its own, not compared to anything else, I find to be a very warm and engaging set. It is elevated in the mid bass. Sub bass is decent, little rolled off, not terribly so, but did an okay job of picking up like super low bass drops, but it wasn't like rumbling in my ears necessarily. There was some presence, just wasn't super strong. As far as the mids go, definitely on the warmer engaging side because of the elevated mid bass. They do, you know, bring it off enough so that the mids are clear. And I couldn't detect any bass bleed. I mean, we're talking about planar bass, so there shouldn't be. There wasn't any that I noticed, even with the slightly elevated, you know, signature. And then the treble is, let's bring the graph up so we can look at it together. The treble is nice. I wouldn't call the treble super energetic, not cascading and hyper detailed and expansive, immersive. That's where the S12 2024 really earns its money, really earns its rep. This is a little tamer, and again, smart. Okay, because it's still there. It still has planar treble. It still has some shine to it. It still has a little sparkle. But I think it's a little bit possibly more digestible because it isn't quite as energetic as the S12 2024. That is arguable. That's not a definitive statement because I think that the way that the S12 2024 presents, it's highly detailed, like very crystalline, cascading treble, is not fatiguing at all. Like it's incredibly polished for it being as detailed as it is and energetic as it is. This comes in right below. The S08 comes in right below that level. So if you were possibly afraid, which you shouldn't have been, but if you were afraid the S12 2024 was going to be too trebly for you, then this would be an option because it doesn't quite reach those levels of intensity and energy. Okay, but I still think the way the S12 2024 presents its treble is freaking impeccable. Yeah, you will not see that level of finesse and polish in the S08, but the trade-off is the good part of that is that it won't fatigue you, and it's got a nice amount of treble to it. It's just not fairy dust treble. The overall signature I found, like, again, it's a little bit warm, it's a little bit bassy, it's definitely fun, and it's definitely engaging, and it's got some good technical chops and some good detail retrieval. And the stages, I would say, absolutely fine. Staging on is absolutely fine. Imaging placement. It has a little bit of that texture that I was talking about with the S12 2024, meaning like there's like definitely a tactile sensation to it. And I think it really does come to the bass on it. Okay, so, I'm beginning to realize that I'm not as much of a bass head as either I used to be or maybe I never was. I just thought I was. I'm not sure. But, I do love crazy, thumpy, rumbly, awesome, amazing bass. Like, I love it, right? But I don't live by it. It's not something that I have to enjoy a set, which is why I think that I do enjoy planar magnetic sets, right? Because their bass definitely is usually tighter, faster, more articulate, cleaner. But some people find that to be just not satisfying enough. And I understand that. But what Letshuoer has done this past year, because I think it's safe to say that it started with the 14.2 millimeter planar magnetic Artti T10, they seem to have solved the planar bass problem. Now, whether it's a problem or not, that's entirely up to you. I don't find it to be a problem. I can appreciate it for what it is. But I do understand that some people prefer dynamic driver bass because it hits harder, is heavier, is fuller, is richer, and in that respect more satisfying for some people who prefer it that way. Letshuoer, in my opinion, has solved that problem. Because if you have the Artti T10, if you've heard the Artti T10, then you know the bass on that slams. And it's just a 14.2 millimeter planar. The S08 is 13. S12 2024 is 14.8, almost 15, right? The bass hits so freaking hard on the Artti T10 that you would just not believe that it was a planar. They took that first step, kind of like you take like new rules in pro sports and try them in the amateur leagues first, like baseball, football, whatever. You try them other place, college football instead of pro, minor league baseball. You try those things out first before you fully like committed to it and go, oh crap, this isn't gonna work. So very smart to start that process with the Artti T10. it worked. And I think that you're seeing the evolution of that, or the development of that style of tuning and driver in the S08 and the S12 2024. And the S15 probably to an extent too, because that's also a 14.8 millimeter driver. Planar, obviously. So what I'm saying is that they, once again, they kind of set the bar, because there's no other planars that behave in the way that the T10, the S08, or the S12 2024 behave in the lower frequencies, in the bass, and even in the sub bass for the S12 2024, because it's got some sub bass, right? This one, the S08 doesn't carry as much into the sub bass, but all three sets have amazingly hard-hitting, heavy, satisfying bass that also cleans up, that also doesn't bleed. It hits right where it's supposed to, as hard, as heavy, as deep, as rich as it's supposed to, and then clears out for the mids. So I think what you're going to find is, and I'm possibly wrong, but I think what you're going to find is that planar magnetic bass may take over the title at some point as being the best possible bass in IEMs, because you can already see the potential here in three different size drivers, three different sets, obviously, too, where the bass is there. It's really there. It's like all the way there, and you can't deny it, and all you can do is enjoy it and go, wow, that sounds like freaking dynamic driver bass. It may be up to individual companies whether they want to adopt that tuning style or driver technology or implementation or whatever. Some people may want to stay more true to the fast transient, super articulate, popping bass versus the thumping heavier stuff. But the fact that you can achieve either of those styles, and probably many in between, with planar magnetic means that that's kind of the superior driver, right? Could be. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Nice little graph here. We'll wrap things up. I'll throw the S12 2024 up there for fun. Take one of these other ones off. Yeah, so there you go. The S08 is the purple line, and the S12 2024 is blue. And you can see that they are indeed, you can see that elevated bass in the S08. But the funny thing is the S12 is so good that you wouldn't even know that it was that different, in these areas here. You'd say that the S12 2024 has almost exactly as much bass as the S08, because that's how good the quality is, how good the tuning is. And then, as you can see up here in the treble, there's your energy, it stays higher longer, sparkly, shimmery. It's a nice cross section of styles. Two sets, two different price points, both very well placed, both extraordinarily good values for what they're asking. And the good news is that the S08 is not a limited run. It's $100 less ish, $80, $90 less than the S12 2024. And so if you can't or won't or don't want to spend the $200 on the S12 2024, or it sells out before you're able to get your hands on it, the S08 gets you 90% of the way there. Just like, and I'll hit you in the comment, or in the at least in the comments, if not the description. But the person that I was comparing and contrasting this set with earlier today or yesterday was just so spot on. Like, they could have done the review. They nailed it. They have both sets. They described them perfectly well, and the differences. And we were 100% in agreement on it. So this is kind of like their review. I stole it. Sorry. I'll give you credit. I promise. I'll throw your handle in the description. So thank you for that. That was an awesome interaction. And you guys, I love our interactions. As I go under a minute before this is going to cut off, I love our interactions in the comments. I know it's not traditional. People usually send you to Patreon or Discord or wherever, to do the chats. I kind of like doing it right in the comments, because that way, if there's good information out there, everybody can see it. There's no like membership fee or anything like that. We'll get into revenue streams as time goes on. I'll figure out something that's going to work for everybody, you know, and still support the channel. We'll get there. For now, I hope the ads aren't bothering you too much. All right, I gotta go. I love y'all. Be careful, be safe, be nice. Love y'all. And nothing but peace to you, and see you soon.